Hello everyone, Cherie Wayman here from Fanklemade. Today I want to show you how to create triangle patchwork quilt templates in Silhouette Studio using the knife tool. I shall be working in Silhouette Studio Basic rather than the business or the designers, so that anyone starting out can see exactly what they can use to create these triangles. As I've mentioned in previous videos, you can create triangles in various methods within the Silhouette software. However, for creating quilt blocks or templates using fabric, I think this would be a more precise method. So let's get started. Although you can create templates and blocks in different shapes and sizes, for the purposes of this demonstration, I'm merely going to use square shapes and hexagons. To begin with, let's create a square on the page. Over on the left-hand side, we have the drawing tools, and I'm selecting the rectangle. Using the Shift button, I'm going to drag out the mouse and create a square. You can make the square any size you like. For this page, I'm going to make it a 4-inch square. So up on the top, you can see I have width and height. I'm going to lock it in so it's going to be identical both sides, and I'm going to put 4 in there. So you can see this a bit better. We'll colour it in for you. Now that you have a square on the page, so that you have proper placement or more accurate placement, I'm going to make this square center on the page, and you can do that quite simply by going up to the top menu. Just over to the right is a center to page function. Click on that and the square is now central to the page. We next need to go to the knife tool on the left hand side here at the bottom and click on that, and it brings up various options for you here. You can cut through solid, which is an object that has color in it, and when you draw a cut line through it, it will produce two different objects. What I mean by that, for demonstration, I'm just going to draw a line across, and as you see, this is quite a fluid line, but if I wanted to keep it absolutely horizontal, I need to click on the Shift button as well, and it takes me to the horizontal. As I release, you can see that we now have two objects. I'm undoing this. Now, if I just took the color out of this for a moment, and I'm going to make the line thicker so that you can see it clearly, and just go in a little bit more. If we go back to the knife tool and select outline and drag the knife through, you can't see very much at the moment, but if I drag this over, you can see now that it is two different shapes, but they are not closed shapes. These lines here do not join with anything, and because of that, if I wanted to colour it in, it won't do so because it's not a closed shape. There are times when you need this, but generally it's a solid that you want to cut through. So let's just go back, undo, undo, undo. It's one of my favorite tools. Take it back to green. Back to the knife tool. Select solid. Of course, you can choose one of these options to create straight lines or curved lines, but straight is what I want, so that's what I'm leaving. But what I do want to do is undo the auto apply, because as you saw, as soon as I drew the line, the cut line across the object, it cut through it. But I want to have some time to play before I tell it to cut. So uncheck the auto apply. Now when I draw a knife line, I'm going to do this above the square, and I'm making it larger than the square itself. Let's center it to the page as the square is, and go over to the transform panel and select center to page. Now what we want to do is rotate it so it goes from corner to corner. There are again several places you can go to do the rotate, but for this demonstration I'm taking you up to the top menu where it says object, select rotate, and we need a 45-degree turn, so it can be clockwise or anti-clockwise on this one. Let's just do it, and you will see if we go in closely that this line is now crossing through the corner exactly. Let's go back a bit so we can see the whole screen again. And at the moment this hasn't cut through because I haven't clicked apply. Let's click on apply now. Go over to the square, see what's happened. Yes, it's cut perfectly through. Let's drag this one off to the side and create another. Once again, 4-inch square for demonstration purposes. Give it another colour and center to the page. This time we're going to do 4 squares, 4 triangles, I should say. Back over to the knife, on the straight, on the solid, auto apply is off. Just drag a cut line over, take it over to the center of the page. So we go to the transform panel and click center of the page. Up to the object at the top, rotate 45 degrees. So this is where we were on the first one. Now we're going to copy and paste, so it's copy, paste in front, another cut line, back to the object, rotate, but this time we're doing 90 degrees. Select the 2 cut lines and click apply. Now we have 4 identical triangles. Another square, 4 inches, center to page. Let's give it another colour. Bit too dark, I think. There we go. Back over to the knife tool, straight across. Let's bring this into the center of the page by going over to your transform panel and clicking center. What I want to do now is create multiple triangles in the block. The first one we can do will be over here on the replicate panel, and if we just select rotate 2 copies, we now have centralized to the page 6 blocks. If we select the lines and click apply, these are the blocks that you create. On to the next one. colour this again and centre to the page. Back over to the knife tool, open up a bit more, drag across, centre to the page, back over to the replicate panel and click on the next one along, and you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, so you've got 8 different panels there, giving you 8 right hand square triangles within one block. So click on all of these lines, click apply, and you have 8 there. Let's select those and drag those over to the side. Onto the next one. New square, 4 inches. And centre to the page. Over to the knife tool. Once again, another line. Centre that to the page. Back over to the replicate panel and click on this one, and you end up with 12 triangles. Apply. In this block we have 8 triangles, and the corner pieces are a slightly different shape. I don't know the accurate word to describe them, but let's pull one of these out just for a moment, rotate it 45 degrees so it's upright, and we can create a different block pattern with that. Just going to drag this over to one side and group. Now in the replicate panel we can use the mirror option down here, and I just want to create one that is directly underneath in the opposite direction. Click on that one, mirror below, and now we've got 2 of them. Group that, and in this format I can now rotate to get multiple copies. And if I go to the maximum rotate here of 5 copies, you now have a completely different design. Which is another block in itself once you put a square around that. Should probably have worked out what the size of this is. It's 5.611, so I want a 5.611 square to match it exactly. 5.611 up the top there. Give it another colour, send it to the back so you can see it, and I'll group those together so I can then move them as one. And center those to the page. So although we were working on just triangles, we do get something else out of it when we work on these blocks using the replicate tool. Zoom in a little bit. I'll drag that over to one side. Finally, I want to draw a hexagon on the page, and to do that we need to go over to the left hand menu bar, and up on the drawing tool option here we have polygon as the last option. When I draw this out, I want it to be straight on the page, so I'm going to click on my Alt key button, hold that down as I drag the object out. If I didn't do that, I'll just show you, it just ends up in all sorts of angles, and so I don't want that. I'm deleting that, bringing you back to this one, enlarging a little bit, and as you can see, this isn't a path at the moment, and that means we can still change the object in its own right. And I want 6 sides, so this little drag bar in the middle, if I just click over, it changes the number of sides, as you can see there. But let's keep it at 6. At this point, I'm going to convert it to a path. Right hand click, convert to path. Give it some colour. And let's center it to the page. In a bit more. Oops, too much maybe. There we go. And again, to the knife tool, click on the knife tool, make sure you're on solid and it's still auto apply, still unchecked, and drag the knife tool across so you know it will extend past the hexagon. Center that to the page. Over on the replicate panel again and click on the second one in, rotate 2 copies. And straight away we have accurate lines crossing over the angles on the hexagon. Select it all, but unselect the hexagon itself and apply. And here we have these triangles. These triangles are 60 degrees. Over on the left we had the half square triangle, and that's a 90-degree angle here. It's a 90-degree angle on the center part of the 4 triangles to a square. These are 60 degrees, and you can see that it's the same number of cuts through as the hexagon. These are right hand angles, as again 90 degrees. This and this is 30 degrees. The last thing I want to show you is, obviously, if you are using these for quilt blocks and you want to have a stitch line on them, you can use the offset panel to create a stitch line either outside or inside the actual item that you've got here. So when I say item, I mean each cut triangle. So select one of the triangles, and you can find the offset icon on the fast menu, quick menu up the top, or over here on the right hand side. Just select the offset panel, and to offset externally you just click on this button here. It automatically on mine goes to 0.125 inches, but your normal quilting seam is 1/4 of an inch, and for 1/4 of an inch you need 0.25. So I'm just going to change that to 0.25 and apply. I might also want to make the corners angular. It's up to you, but you can change that to this particular sharp corner option. And if I pull that out from the herd, you can see now that it's also cut off the corners for you, which sometimes is quite helpful in your sewing. So that's 1/4 of an inch outward. Then if you want to do a seam within the original, then click on the next object, select internal offset and select 0.25 and apply. And you have that internally. And again, if you wanted rounded corners or sharp corners, you select it there and apply. To differentiate between the cut line and the seam line, what you can do is change the line version on these. And so this one on the inside is obviously the internal seam line. Go over to your line option over the right hand panel, line style, and here you have a line style that you can change to a dot or a dash. If I change the colour here, you can see it a little better. Let's do a faint colour. And so now you can see a dash going around. That would be your sewing line, and that would be your cut line. Finally, make sure that the seam line on your blocks is not a cut line, especially if you are going to cut the fabric directly through your cutting machine. So select the area that has the seam line surrounding it, go to the send option at the top menu, just select, I'm going to scroll in a little more so you can see it. This grey box is telling you that you've only selected this particular seam and say no cut. And therefore on your screen showing you the cutting options, the outside line will be a cut, the inside line is a no cut. There's lots of different ways you can reproduce these. You can send these direct to your printer, but make sure that you have the correct size paper selected, not only in your printer but also in your design page, because like I'm using here, I have a 12 by 12 setup, but to make sure they fitted onto an A4 sheet, because most printers that people use are A4, you need to make sure that all of these objects will fit on that page. And if they don't fit on in the exact arrangement here, you can shuffle them around and redirect them so that they do come out the right size, but on A4 sheet. Just as a visual, I will show you if I go to my page here and change my media size to A4, you'll see that as it was situated on the page as I drew it, it's not the right arrangement, but you can drag these. I'm going to group that so it doesn't get mistaken. Drag them onto the page. Make sure they're within the cutting and the drawing lines. So just group that. What I mean by that is over here, show print border and show cut border. And if we scroll in again, I need to get a bit closer for you. The print border is this grey line here, and the cut border is the red line. So for printing, you want to make sure you're within the grey border, and definitely for the cutting, you need to be within the red border. I hope that's been helpful to you, to get you on your quilting journey. And if you like this tutorial, please subscribe like the page, and come back and follow me again. I hope to see you soon. Thank you for watching. Bye for now.